the rest of the episode dedicated to the one and only triangle strategy.
Yep. So I briefly touched on it to start, but we are going to talk about the game from a full perspective of people who have played the post game, and not pull any punches as far as spoilers or gameplay mechanics or any content, except we won't be talking about the plot details of the 4 specific endings. Once you kind of reach the final chapter or 2, we're not going to get into any of that because it's really just plot, and it's not necessary to spoil that to have this conversation, right? And I also haven't played every ending. So we'll be saving that. But other than that, we're going to talk about pretty much everything there is to talk about. Review the game from the perspective of now we know everything there is to know just about of the games, and kind of just really, give our recommendations for folks who might be interested and give a little bit of just context to our thoughts for the people who are already fans of the game.
Absolutely. We may or may not show off some of these at any point throughout this, by the way.
Yeah, that's a pretty spicy one right there.
But this game is a very special one. One thing I wanted to kick it off with, we've already reviewed the game after we had first gotten it and everything. But now, since we're talking post-game review, I wanted to go into this talking about our initial playthroughs. Now, without getting into the ending, as far as you want to go or not go, you kind of told me after I explained the order of events for me and the ending I got, you were like, it was the same for you. Like without speaking about anything in the game, you and I had made the same decisions and taken the same route.
More or less, yeah, from what I remember. Everything you told me.
If that is accurate, I mean, that's pretty impressive because it seems like it could have gone quite a few different ways.
Yeah, there's a lot of choices in this game that lead to some crazy situations, and you'll see that. So what I did on my second playthrough and what I assume you're doing is just taking any choice that you haven't taken previously to kind of see what plays out. And the path traveled on option in the menu, it makes a huge difference because you can kind of see the timeline of the choices you've made and see the details for each branching path and everything kind of laid out. And I think that's really neat. And it makes it really easy to pick choices that you haven't before because they're all color-coded with the 3 different conviction types.
Yep. And whenever I first got in the New Game Plus, that's I thought that was really cool that it showed you your recent path traveled on the prior playthrough. Mm-hmm. That's really cool that they keep that up for reference.
Yeah, it's all cumulative. So as you go through, you'll just add to it, right? And it's really, really nice.
Did you want to do any talking about decisions? I just wanted to ask you that as far as decisions in the story specifically that we made.
We can. I think...
we can go as deep or as not as you want, man. There's so much to talk about with this. This is so free form.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just wondering how far you want to go with it,
Yeah, just if you have a quick little rundown just of your decisions, I guess there's chapter, I think, 2, where you can either go to Hyzant or S-Frost. I think you said you went to Hyzant, and that unlocks Quarantine.
Yep, and that's what. And of course, I didn't initially know. Picking Hyzant unlocks him. Mm-hmm. Because at that point, you don't know what unlocks what. You don't know where the characters are coming from. That's why when we get to the New Game Plus, having the conviction, having numbers on them is like the biggest hidden feature of this game. Like
absolutely,
it's something that is happening throughout the entire time you play it. And you finally get to see what it is. And that's a big point, man. I recently got to that point. It's like, wow, now everything kind of, I don't know. You just have a whole new sense of the game because that's now available.
Absolutely. I assume so that happened in chapter 3 where you go to. I'm referencing mine here now so I can go through.
And I think you and I initially both went to Hyzant.
Yeah. And then chapter 7 is whether or not to surrender Roland initially. I didn't do that.
Didn't give him up. No. Not happening, dude. No. Straight up. there's if anybody did make that decision first playthrough, that'd be interesting. But I feel like at that point, man, Roland is a bro.
At that point, he's
and you find out later how much of a bro he really is.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
Yep. And then obviously that gives a couple different branching paths. On that one, you can either accept Silvio's offer, or to make for the Telior domain, or reject it. I rejected him.
We both said fuck Silvio, bro. And that was unanimous.
Yeah, and he's always gonna backstab you no matter what you do in any path.
Well, I could have told you that. Yeah. I mean, just being on New Game Plus round 2. I mean, I already know he's a snake.
Yep. And I assume did you destroy any of the fire traps in Wolfort on your first playthrough?
Destroy any of them? What you mean?
Like where you trigger the fire traps around where Avlora is coming up into the Wolfort domain, and there's fire traps built around the houses and everything. Did you trigger those?
Oh, I triggered them.
So that's the first thing on the golden route. You have to not trigger any of those if you get to that fight.
No shit.
Because you use that as part of that, yeah.
Wow. That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look, I wasn't really thinking about the morality of it. I just, everybody already came to terms with it, so I was like, I'm using it.
I remember on my first playthrough, I tried to not use them for as long as possible, but then I was like, it's got to be done. I have to make it shake. So I ended up, blowing one or two of them. I think I only maybe used 2, but there's a couple. They're all in kind of wonky places where you're not always. You don't just get a guaranteed slam dunk with using them.
I had to really, really specifically kite Avlora and like 5 or 6 units into that big rectangular top one, and I just said it, dude. And Avlora was done for.
Yeah.
And it was over with. That was actually a pretty simple one for me, just because I think I played it, lost, and was like, let me think about this. And I was like, I got to get as many of them as I can in this big one. I'm like, I'm not even worried about these little ones.
Yep.
At the, southeast and southwest, I'm worried about that big one. So I was like, let me get some, movement going that way. And it worked out.
Yeah. So for the golden route, I'm going to recall the golden route options where I can. I may miss one or two.
Hey, that's very appreciated.
I definitely recommend looking up a guide that, if you want to actually go for it. Because
I'm going into chapter 6 of New Game Plus. That's where I'm at with the game.
Yeah, chapter 7 is where your decisions start to matter for the golden route. So
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah,
that's good to know.
Yep. And then the next decision is whether or not to help Sorsley with his illegal salt trade,
which we did not.
I did not on my first playthrough. No,
I didn't either.
But you actually do for the golden route.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good to know.
Yep. So I didn't do that either. And then what I did want to call out as we're going through this is in this chapter, if you fail to find his secret ledger, what actually happens is you have to face Sorsley in a trial by combat, like Game of Thrones, like you're the accuser. You don't have enough evidence to convict him. So it's you against him. And it's in this deathmatch arena in Hyzant that has spikes at the bottom. I wish I had a picture of it, but I don't.
You were telling me about that, but I didn't. I must not have found the ledger because I fought that battle. Because that's what because we're talking, story spoilers. So I thought it was so hilarious and awesome that they were like, well, looks like y'all got to fight to the death. They don't even care. Like, Sorsley's either going to die or you're going to die.
Yep.
And
how sick was that field, though?
That field was sick, and that battle was so easy.
It was really easy.
It was super easy.
I didn't mention that when I told you about it, but yeah, all you have to do is have Eridor, and you're good to go on that one.
Ramfo, you're done.
Yeah. Because once they go down, they're not going to survive long enough to get back to the top.
Yeah, it's over. But Yeah, that's so funny. You had mentioned it to me, and then I guess when I played through, I didn't think about that being the arena you mentioned. But as far as a story turning point, that was really funny to me that they were like, this is how they settle shit. They're literally like willing to have one of the Saintly Seven just die in combat
Yep.
over something you accused them of but can't prove.
So on that path, there's a decision where you have to decide to reveal Roland on the path of helping Sorsley. Sorry, which I know you haven't gotten to yet, but as far as Golden Route stuff, there's a decision where you have to reveal Roland's identity to Svarog or not. You have to reveal it. Yeah. So
Reveal it to him.
You're actually partnering up with Svarog as part of this route.
That's the Golden Route. That's such a dirty move.
It all makes sense once you go through it.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure they wouldn't just have you do evil shit and that be the intention.
No, Svarog and Gustadolf don't get along. I mean, that much is obvious.
Svarog is actually he's kind of like a homie as far as characters go.
And when you're on that help Sorsley route, you actually bro up with him big time.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize that until my second playthrough because I did not help Sorsley the first time. So you don't even end up going to Esfrost at that time, which when you help Sorsley, that's who you're delivering your salt to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
true.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
I knew Svarog was a homie. I knew it.
But we went through that. There's chapter 13, which has the beautiful message of the story is approaching a turning point. It is recommended you save your current progress. And the very first time I saw that, I sent you a picture of it, and I was like, this is how you know shit's about to get real.
Yep. And when I got to that moment, I felt it.
Yeah, because that's when you decide.
Turning point.
That's when you decide, if you're going to go through with Roland, Benedict, or Frederica's plan of what to do next. And that decides, one, which a story character that you get, and two, it's a big decision point for the story of the game.
Is that the one? That's where you have to decide how to deal with Asfrost in Glenbrook, right? Like when they're in the Crown City?
Exactly right.
Okay, and you and I guess both, if you chose the same as me, chose to actually use
the Elfric on the boat.
The Elfric on the dam.
On the dam. No, I didn't do that. I used it on the boat the first time. I invaded the castle, destroyed the boat. So that's interesting. That's a difference. But I did destroy the dam the second time. And
I destroyed the dam the first time.
That's a fun fight going to that map that has like the huge split off to the right. I can't remember the exact name of the city.
Are you talking about the nighttime where you have to like get over to the bomb site?
Exactly.
Dude, I cheesed it so hard. That was one of the funniest battles of the entire game. I used Huette and flew around undetected. And then I kind of just brought a few units in like Saranoa, Eridor, Roland, and then kited them out and squeezed Roland in and won. It was hilarious. All you have to do is have one unit over there with none of the other ones occupying it, and you win. Yep.
But that was a good part of the game. But yeah, I chose to do Benedict's plan, that is Benedict's plan. I chose to break in and destroy the ships, but all of them kind of end with the same fight, which is fighting Erica and Thalos on the bridge in some way, shape, or form.
My thoughts on the matter, whenever you had to think between the three, Benedict is a wise man. You have learned that as you play through this game.
But he's also cruel.
He can be cruel.
He's very cruel,
but he's very effective.
He is effective.
Now,
absolutely.
Sometimes the game, you have to make some decisions that are kind of difficult, but you also have to think about
one of the biggest cases,
how
for sure.
dire the situation is, though. I mean, that at this point, when you're making this turning point decision, the situation is dire.
Yep.
I mean, like Asfrost is about to literally own Norzalia, bro. Like it's almost about to be over.
Yep.
So yeah, that was a big one for me, man. I had to think about it hard. I wanted to go with Roland's shit, but when I was, I thought I'm putting big thinking into this, and What if you go to
No,
take the
yeah, it's respectable.
what if you go to take the secret paths? They got you clocked and rolling dice, man. You know. Of
They all
course,
lead to interesting stuff for sure. That's one thing you'll see is that all choices eventually lead to a similar scenario, right, where you're doing a fight or something like that. Mm-hmm. But big fan of that chapter, and of course, it makes a huge difference. In this chapter, I don't think it actually matters what you do in terms of the golden route.
So whenever we made the decision between the three, we would have still gotten the same ending.
Correct.
Based off of, because you and I apparently got the same ending when we
that
talked
doesn't
about
affect
it.
the ending. You choose your ending
Okay.
basically, but you just have to do certain things along the way to get the golden route.
I gotcha.
So the next big choice is chapter 15, basically what to do after the battle with S-Frost. Either return home to Wolfort, go defend the Rosellan village.
That was a tough one, T.
Yep. Or stay in the capital and fight the royalists.
I went to the Rosellan village.
I did too on the first time.
Yep. I thought that I trusted Benedict to get the word to my father. I had a feeling what was going to happen was going to happen. That's what almost made me not do it and just go back to Glenbrook. To House Wolfort. But I felt like along the way back home, man, we could take care of some business real quick, you know.
Yep. And it's
and
definitely
you're feeling for the Rosellans so much at this point.
for sure. And the whole story is like that. And some of the choices, like if you choose to give them up, man, it feels brutal the whole time.
Oh man,
You can really screw over the Roselle with your choices in this story.
you could really walk, I think about when you go to the source and you think about Sarah Noah walking around it. When you pick to go to Hyzant, you actually get to see it, which is pretty messed up.
It is.
Whenever you get to explore the source.
That's later. You don't get to go into the source in chapter 3. It's like later when you go back to report Sourcely or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah. It is. It's messed up, man. People are just dying. No one cares. Like it's brutal. It's one of the most.
They put one of them down.
Oh my god! Yeah.
This game goes there, dude.
It does. It's really
this
really
game
dark.
goes there.
We'll talk about that a little bit.
We should.
But chapter 15, the golden route, you have to go back to Wolfort.
Okay.
And that
almost did it. I almost went back home, dude.
Yep. So I think, and one thing I'll say here, and that I'll probably reiterate later, is I don't think anyone should take the golden route on their first playthrough.
I think you should do the first playthrough how we did. Think about it yourself.
Yep.
Go with your intuition and get the ending that's truly your ending for the first playthrough.
Because without getting into details, each of the endings of the main 3 are bittersweet. And you always end up alienating someone and allying with someone. The golden ending is what it's basically you do the best parts of all 3 endings without any of the downsides, and everyone's basically happy at the end. But that's not very satisfying if you don't see the normal endings and how bittersweet they are.
Absolutely, man. Because the ending that we got was very bittersweet and kind of, in a way, kind of like leaves you hanging with some kind of shitty thoughts. A big question mark.
Yeah.
One big question mark for me, you know what I'm saying, just the Roland situation and our ending.
Yep.
I don't know how much in the detail you want to get into it. Just there's so much about the game, man.
We'll finish out our path here. In chapter 15, if you go to Wolfort, you unlock Milo. If you stay in Glenbrook, you unlock Cordelia, who I'll get to a little bit later when we start talking about specific characters, but having Cordelia is actually insane. And on the Rosellan village side, you can either unlock Travis or Trish, depending on if you gave the Roselle up or not, or initially. So unfortunately, this means that just to unlock the other of Travis or Trish, you have to play through the game 4 times, which is currently where I'm at.
Oh, that's what you told me, man.
Yeah, it's a little bit silly because
So
otherwise,
just to get Travis?
just to get Travis or Trish, yeah, whichever one that you don't get
Oh,
on, you
okay,
know, whichever
okay.
one you don't get, yeah.
Yeah, I had gotten Trish.
Yeah, it really sucks because otherwise you'd have all 30 characters, you know, in 3 playthroughs, and I think that would make a lot of sense. But having 4 playthroughs also makes sense, I guess, if you consider the golden ending. You get to kind of see each ending once, so that's fine. But yeah, just wanted to mention that that is kind of the deciding point for those 3 characters. Milo is incredible, and so is Cordelia. Trish is probably the worst of the 3 that I have, and I can't speak on Travis because he's the only character I haven't unlocked.
They got some sick archers in the game, man. I mean, like you said, we'll talk about it with units, but one thing I realized unlocking these characters, I think I have 23 out of 30. You get quite the layout of archers.
Yeah, absolutely. In chapter
Shout
2,
out to Archibald.
yeah. Oh my God, Archibald is incredible. In chapter 3, the S-Frost route, you get Rudolph. He's pretty interesting.
I got Rudolph.
Yeah,
he kind of looks like Cloud. At first, I thought he looked like Cloud.
Yeah, he's pretty decent. Not anywhere near as good as Archibald, but I think he's probably better than Trish. And yeah, there's a lot of good archers, but then you just have pretty much the ending choice, which I know we both took the Benedict ending the first time around, and now I've gotten to see the Frederica ending and the golden ending. There is a golden route. Are you aware of what the golden route unlocked character is? It's gonna have to get spoiled for you, man. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not.
The character that you unlock by getting the golden route is General Avlora herself.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. She is really, really good and really fun to play with.
I bet, dude. I mean, like her as a unit on the battlefield was intimidating enough. So
yeah, you can actually unlock the bloody cross thing. If you've seen her use that, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
I mean shit. That's what instilled the fear in me to actually burn my own town down. That's why I used the fire traps. I didn't want to take her on. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But yeah, you do. That is your special reward, kind of, for beating the goal or getting to the golden route. Is you unlock her pretty much like the first thing. So you get to use her in the end parts, which is really great.
I'm looking forward to getting around to it because it's definitely gotten around to. I mean, I'm continuing with this new game plus, and just I can only imagine, like you said, that every decision kind of branches off differently. It's cool that it's not just at these pivotal points. There's these big points, but then there's little points. Mm-hmm. There's so many little decisions, and then the dialogue in itself. Whenever you have 3 decisions to make, and I think we briefly brought up how you can unlock the third option in some situations, and that might be the right one for the case.
Absolutely. Doing the exploration, you get to kind of unlock different pieces of dialogue. And one thing that I love is on subsequent playthroughs, you keep that, so you don't have to necessarily find all those triggers again, unless it's a special one, like finding the stone in the Rosellan village or whatever, where you have to go through certain things. But in general, like when it says you learned XYZ, like you keep that for subsequent playthroughs.
Yeah, and I also noticed that whenever you, on New Game Plus, all the items that were there before are not there again.
That's correct. But
so that definitely saves some time with exploration mode.
It does.
There's been a thing or two.
At this point, I skip through every cutscene and exploration phase, except for the ones that I haven't done before on new choices.
True, yeah. I'll just, if anything, fast forward some, you know. Mm-hmm. And if it's something I've definitely seen.
And I will say that makes future playthroughs much quicker. Because I still play out everything that I haven't seen, but just being able to skip straight through everything that I have, like, it's much more time spent battling, much less time spent, storying.
Another thing that makes your New Game Plus playthrough go much quicker is the fact that you're not really fed the mock battles as often as you were initially. That's just going into chapter 6. That's my experience so far.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe more come up later, but I feel like Before, I'd be checking almost every major story event because there'd be something new in the tavern, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, closer you get to cap, I'm sure they're a little more gapped,
Yeah.
right?
I think once you get closer to the end in your current playthrough, you'll start to get more, because whatever the highest level one you have now, you'll start to unlock stuff after that once you get to around that level, I think is how it works.
Oh, I got you.
So as you approach level 50 with like some of your characters, that's when you'll start to unlock those mock battles. It happens pretty seamlessly. Like, you tend to stay around the same level as your enemies in the story in this game, like even through subsequent playthroughs, and the way they pull that off with this scalable experience. Like, if you're much higher than an opponent, you get almost no experience. If you're much lower, you get a ton, right? You can get a whole level from one action.
Yeah.
And I think that keeps the game feeling really balanced, and I like that a lot.
You know what else keeps the game really balanced is the fact that, like, when you unlock a character, they balance it out with your current mains.
Absolutely.
Like, I love the fact because whenever I got back in to the new game plus, I used the mock battles to use units I wanted to level up.
I did the same. Yeah.
I thought that it was the perfect opportunity up until the battles got too difficult to where I couldn't use this wacky cast. And then I'd start peppering them in ones that needed, leveled up more. And once it got to where, okay, now I need to use my good units that I leveled up.
And maybe you'll have like one training unit. Yeah.
Totally. I'm sure you did the same thing I did.
Pretty much same thing.
So yeah, and that did a lot. But I noticed that now, I think last night I just unlocked Groma and Decimal.
Decimal is insane. We'll have a whole character kind of thought process here closer to the end. But I love Decimal, man.
Decimal is the most unique of the units so far, and I don't have too many more to unlock, so that's saying a lot.
One of the most unique units in the game, definitely. He can hit enemies all over the battlefield, and he makes a few fights, mock battles especially, that would be, and even one story battle, that would be almost impossible and that I had to retry a million times. Using Decimal was actually the answer in several occasions. Yeah. He has an attack that you can unlock that hits all units within range that are five squares higher than him. So in these maps where you start down in the valley and all the enemies are up top,
there's a few of them.
You just spam Decimal and you just fire the Decimal cannon as often as you can, and you pump all your TP into Decimal and just try and get him to take as many turns as possible, and
feed him. Yeah, just feed Decimal. That's awesome.
Man,
he's an automaton, so it kind of gives him a crazy advantage because when we revealed the automaton situation, that was like, holy shit, in this universe that is unheard of.
Yep, and there's an item in the game called the Black Anklet, which
I have it. Yep.
Yeah, if you equip it, your character doesn't regenerate TP on their turn, but Decimal already doesn't do that, so it's a free equip for him.
Absolutely. That's one of those big brain RPG item situations.
Yeah, and it just straight powers him up in like every stat, which is awesome.
Yep. Yeah, man.
Groma, not interested. She's probably one of my least deployed characters. She's pretty cool, but
I haven't used her yet.
She's pretty cool. She hits somewhat hard and she's pretty tanky, but she doesn't excel anywhere in practicality. Like, it's hard to not just use Eridor or Flanagan where you would use her.
Yeah, man. Like whenever that's one thing that anyone who plays this game is going to find. When your arsenal is up like ours in the 20s and everything's leveled very decently for the most part, sometimes these decisions on you got to deploy 7-9 units, really tough decisions.
It's tough, but it's fun to come up with a specific strategy.
It's situational.
Yeah, because I've had some deployments where I didn't have any traditionally strong characters in this game, or I had almost none of like the main characters, you know what I mean? And it just ended up being all situational characters like Jens, like,
Yep.
stuff like that, Julio, and just ended up kind of having a unique build around strategy.
I
And I'll
used
say,
Julio for a minute in the story, man.
I do too. Yeah, I like Julio, but I will
I don't
say
use him as much anymore, but I used him going through, a good portion of maybe the first half of the game.
when you get into hard mode, which I'm excited for you to get there. I think you're gonna probably play your next playthrough on hard.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I did as well. My
I'll
third.
probably do Golden Route on hard. Is that what you did?
No, I did Golden Route on my second playthrough.
That's
on
right.
normal. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm doing Golden Route on this normal playthrough.
And then I
New
did
Game
hard
Plus.
the
Yes.
next one.
And I'm going to do hard and then whatever I need to do to unlock my characters.
Yeah, but on hard mode, you have to game plan every battle meticulously. You can't just throw your favorite units out. Every single choice matters, and there's a lot of battles that I had to retry 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
You told me about some heartbreak on hard mode, man.
But it makes it that satisfying to beat it as well. And there are ways to cheese the game, right? There's a few cheese strategies that you can use, but it's hard to implement for one, and for two, like, realistically, like, even what people would consider cheese is still difficult to pull off and, like, rewarding to do.
That's the thing I was going to say too about that, Tyler, is that sometimes it's hard to define cheesing with well thought out strategy.
Yeah.
Because there's been points where I've been like, oh man, I'm cheesing the fuck out of this. But sometimes, it could have been because you placed this unit in this sector in range of this. And it's just a complete advantage.
There is one character that completely breaks the combat of the game that I don't think you have yet, named Quahog.
Oh, I don't have Quahog.
He...
Like where Peter Griffin's from?
Yes, spelled the exact same.
Really? That's awesome.
He's a little kid from Hyzant who can stop time. So
Shit.
the stop quietus?
Is that the clairvoyant that I'm going to be unlocking?
Yes.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, I'm really close to unlocking him,
Yeah,
man.
you know the quietus that you can get that, like, stops a unit for 1 turn?
Yeah.
He does that to all units on the battlefield for 2 turns.
So you have 2 rounds of turns?
But it does your units too, and he's not that strong. So you have to build around it, but you can find ways to cheese it where you can get your units free, or at least 1 or 2, and keep all the other units locked down and just go around and beat up on the whole map. So
that is an interesting ability. I've got, like, as far as what the game is and how the combat goes, that's very, very unique.
he also has an ability where you can switch places with any unit, so you can just, like, get your death ball, switch places with the boss, and trap them inside all of your units, and you know how that goes.
Wow, that's an amazing ability. Also, that's on some, like, Dragon Shield 2-fold turn shit.
Quahog is on that level where you can build a strategy around his abilities and win a fight with it. Definitely.
That's crazy, man.
But I only use him sparingly. There are, like, mental mock battles where it's like survive 100 turns. That is Quahog special right there. I have no shame about using that on hard mode because it makes those pretty much free, but that's okay.
I anytime there's, like, the mock battles where it's been, like, the 100, like, survive this many turns and it's like a crazy amount of turns, I'll just pick a solid team, fight until everybody dies and there's a few units left. Keep Anna alive. Take cover.
Yeah, Anna's another one who kind of is broken.
I think Anna is where you can break it. I mean, like, completely, dude. Like, the take cover thing.
Because you can always be covered if you time it right.
Yeah, so, like, the mine cart one where, like, you had to, like, hold out for 100. I got everybody away all the way across the map, and it had Anna, like, on the square to the complete southeast of everything. It did all the fighting right there at the bottom of the mines, and by the time it got down to it, and when I lost my unit before last, it was probably 20 turns left. Dude. I just waited it.
You just
waited it out.
Yeah, waited it out. Nice.
I took cover, but I really didn't need to. It was just a precaution.
Mm-hmm.
But I had made sure all the mine carts were moved towards me.
Yeah.
And that was a strategy. So none of them could take mine carts, and they'd all have to walk, and they don't even have enough turns to get there. But that's the type of strategies that this game provides to you to think out that are incredible. You know, that sounds like cheesing, but that is a strategy. It's a way to approach it.
And that's about as bad as it gets in this game, and that's still not free. And also, if you really go full cheese with that, it's going to take forever to win. Not in the 100 turns ones, but if you're actually trying to defeat every enemy with Quahog, you're going to be there for a while. So that's the trade-off, right? And that's why the main reason I haven't used that exploit, really. I don't think I've actually successfully gotten a full good Quahog loop set up in any fight, but I've definitely used him to great effect at times.
There's many units in this game that I feel like if paired together, you've got like a success thing going on.
Definitely.
And also we talked about utility, man. Sometimes, like, I remember when I first unlocked Jins or Yens or however you say, you know, he sometimes one ladder can change a battle completely, especially when he gets ladder 2.
Yep.
That can just one single ladder changes some of these battles absolutely completely.
Yeah, Yenz's final ability that he gets is an automatic turret where you can post up.
I have that.
Oh yeah, it's sick, man. I love that ability so much.
It's funny because a lot of the final abilities are where how you used that unit before is completely turned on its head because something is now at your disposal that
is so strong. Yeah,
that makes you consider choosing that unit.
Definitely, there's a lot like that.
And man, that's a big thing I wanted to touch on. I know we're going to talk about units in general, but like the upgrading system as far as the weapon upgrades and the rank upgrades with the medals of bravery and just that whole system is perfect, Tyler. And I think you'll agree with me on that.
I do, yeah.
It's incredible because that's their way of giving you skill of stat trees.
Yep.
And it's done so well because I found all these resources you need kind of naturally come. I've never purchased a single resource yet. Of course, I'm getting to the point where that's optimal.
Once you buy some upgrades, like once you get to the end and you're trying to just upgrade everything, you'll end up having to buy a ton.
I've upgraded everything that I could, like literally possibly everybody is weapon rank 3 except Roland because I haven't gotten a second Azure crystal yet. Do you get the second one in the same spot the first one was?
In the, you can buy them. Village? You can buy them from Archibald's shop.
They're not. It's not available in my shop.
Oh,
not in Azure crystal.
You may just have to wait. Yeah,
I think it's like in the middle of the Elder's hut in the Rosellan village. That's where the one I found to upgrade Sarah
Gotcha. I think you'll be able to buy. You'll be able to buy whatever you need for the weapon upgrades eventually from Archibald.
Yeah. I have all of them, everything. Like everybody's weapon rank 3. Roland is still 2 because I haven't gotten a second Azure crystal. I probably should have just looked it up. Where do I get an Azure crystal from? Yeah. I could have just done that, but I haven't looked up anything.
The tier 3 upgrades are different too than the tier 2 items. So
yeah, I know. And everything's available for the most part in the Kudo shop,
in the Archibald shop. Yeah.
Yeah, to where any unit I get, I can upgrade it fully. The only thing is rolling with that Azure crystal. It's the only thing that has been not available yet.
You're not missing anything. Don't worry. Roland is probably one of the least playable characters in the game once you get up to the higher level fights and everything.
He's pretty useful throughout the initial story.
For sure.
But I found that after, of course, we made some decisions that led to him no longer being in the party, correct? Yeah. So after he was in my party, I was like, oh, shit, that's shitty. No more Roland. I actually was performing pretty well without him, so I could see where you would say that, I guess.
I think he
was handy while he was around.
He's probably one of the weakest units in the game overall in terms of his overall kit's effectiveness.
I think the most useful thing he's ever done for me is just the fact that he can do pushback. That's a big help.
That is a big
situations.
Help. That's one of your that's one of the biggest appeal factors. He gets his final attack for dragons It's nice because it like ignores defense, so it can do 400 damage on a critical, which is obviously insane.
Yeah, like elite armored guard is going to be pretty fucked still.
Yeah, you're going to be able to hit anything really hard, but that is about the best thing he has going for him. And I find myself, I wouldn't bring him in just to use that, but there are obviously fights
Nah.
where you're forced to use him in the story.
In these arenas where you got these enemies that are doing that shit to you, you need to be using Eridor and Roland and pushing them off, you know. I think there's a couple of battles where you have to kind of deal with them pushing you off the arena or pushing them off the arena.
Yeah.
And then you have to stairs back up, you know.
I think Rudolph gets a staggering arrow that pushes people back as well. And then
that's awesome.
Hasabara gets pushed back as well.
Oh, that's right, huh? Hasabara does have pushback. I remember that. I didn't use her as much initially because I feel like that's one of the ones I failed to level up for a while.
She takes some getting used to, but she has an ability where if she does a follow-up attack with you, like if you're another character and she does a follow-up attack on your attack, both her and you get healed. That is a nice ability. That
is a very nice ability. As far as mages and shit like that go, it's so funny how I kind of initial playthrough completely 100% powerhouse through with Frederica and Corentin.
And that's all you need. They're the best best mages.
I just rolled with them, but I fell in love with Narv later on, man. After I leveled them up and started using them after those mock battles.
I just skipped to the slide on the encampment so we could kind of talk about characters here because I feel like that's where this is going.
Definitely.
But so real quick, for anybody who's watching along, I had a really hard time finding one single picture that would encapsulate every character in the game. So this is actually my encampment from my Switch. So it's missing Travis. So, but every other character is here.
And like I said, this was a confidence booster because mine looks pretty similar. I think, what am I, 6 units less than you?
Mm-hmm. You said you have 23?
23, yeah.
Yeah, so I have 29.
And I'm about to unlock 2. There's 2. I'm very close on utility and very close on liberty.
Yeah,
so it's Quahog and then one other one. I think it said a geologist.
Oh, yeah. She's useless. Don't worry about her. She's one of Giovanna. She's like one of the only characters in this game that I can't find a good use for.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to Quahog though. You definitely got me stoked about that
so
one.
Focus on Quahog for that grind because Giovanna, if she's your last character, you're not going to be missing anything.
Well, I'll bet I appreciate any word you have on any character or anything that I haven't, gotten around to. That way I know off top. You know?
You'll get Milo if you're going for Golden Route because she's what you get on that path, and she's absolutely incredible. I'm sure you get to play with her a little bit in the fight before that, but as an actual playable character, being able to tempt. Have you gotten Lionel?
Lionel?
Yeah. The merchant?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. So
the fat man?
Yeah, of course. His voice actor is incredible. But
definitely, yeah.
He has the ability to tempt people, but it's very inaccurate. If once you start getting into tempting with Milo and Lionel's ultimate attack has a 100% chance to do it, it's very broken. And it's one of the things that carried me far in some of these harder fights on hard difficulty was being able to tempt enemies and have them start taking each other out. So once you get Milo, I'm looking forward for you to be able to have her kick because she does a lot.
I got to use Milo in a few battles towards the end of the game, and I found that in the one that you didn't do initially, where you have to get across with the street lights and get to the bomb zone by the dam.
Absolutely.
The travel, that was the best part. It's just the fact that you can jump. Yeah, that travel is insanity. And it was perfect for the strategy I was going for. Trying to close in around the light. I didn't figure out how to get off.
Milo was in a lot of my deployments. She's probably one of my most deployed units. I actually can, since I'm in the encampment, I can see what are my most deployed units. Yeah. But yeah, she is unlocked when you go back to Castle Wolford. So
Awesome.
yeah.
You got me firing it up too if you're just going into your encampment. It's funny. I'm wondering, did you have the same situation as me where whenever you went into New Game Plus, you had a few characters that were pretty neglected?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I assume you would. I mean, it's really hard to evenly like give all of these the proper time when you're trying to actually win.
Yeah, even in my third playthrough, I didn't have all my characters to level 50 until some way through the playthrough. And I don't think I hit level 50 on my second playthrough with anybody until late in the game.
Yeah, okay. But the mock battle thing was a big booster.
For
and
sure.
like I said, the fact that when you unlock them now, they're like kind of like equalized with your team. When I got Decimal and Groma, they were like level 38. I was like, awesome. They're like instantly throw them right in.
Yep.
See what's up with
That
them,
goes
and
on
then they're
too.
leveled up.
Once your whole squad is level 50, like when I unlocked Cordelia, my only character of my previous playthrough, she was level 50 immediately.
It's funny because I wouldn't have expected Cordelia to be one of your characters you could actually play as, but yeah, here we are.
It is crazy because, right, she's the character that I've had the least amount of time with, but she is very strong, and I wish that I had her
Is
sooner.
she like a healer, or
She's a healer. But
Okay,
she
that's
can
what I would've
heal.
thought.
Her ultimate ability is she can heal people over their max HP.
Wow.
So, and she heals like 400. So she'll literally, like most of my
So
characters.
if she hits them with the heal, it'll up their max HP indefinitely.
No, she over heals. Like it'll say like 800 out of 400. For
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
But she can heal like you know how have you gotten I don't know if you would have seen this yet, but have you ever seen a boss with an HP that was like question mark question mark question mark?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe once.
You'll see that as you go along and get into further of the game, because these boss characters, once they have over 1,000 HP, it turns into 3 question marks. It took me a while to realize that that's what that meant, but yeah, once they have over 1,000 HP, their HP will be question marks, because I guess there's not enough digits on the little readout for it. But Cordelia can get your characters into question marks because she can do it multiple times. Like
That's intimidating to the enemy, bro.
And that was the only, like, she was one of my key ways that I was able to beat the assassins, which is the last mental mock battle where you have to beat 100 units. I struggled with that one, but with Cordelia's overheal, and then Gila has the ability to give anyone a revive. Those 2 abilities were clutch. I basically had an overheal and a revive on every single member of my team, and that's how I was able to like beat it without actually with the max number of units.
Based off of how I've played, I would think that Gila is a very viable healer because it's the only healer I've used heavy.
Do you have Medina?
I do.
Her ability, once you unlock her TP physic ability, which is like she can, when she uses a healing item on someone, and when she uses a healing item on someone, that gives them 1 TP. And so that works with the ranged pellets, so you can give 5 units TP at once. And then when you start using double items, you can give 5. You can do that twice in one turn. So she actually goes infinite with herself because double items cost 3. So if you're hitting yourself and 4 other units, you're going to have double items every turn. It's a very expensive strategy. Gold wise, but it does work, and it's needed, I would say, for certain parts of the game. Medina is actually busted in this game.
See, that's the thing. Medina was one of my neglected ones. I'm looking here, and I have Medina at level 26 right now. So
Medina is busted. Get TP Physic unlocked, and then you can give her the Vanguard Scarf and hit your whole team with a 2+ TP boost to start the fight, every single fight.
That's pretty amazing, dude. How do you know how viable as far as like late game Izana is? Because the idea of having a shaman in the game is something that's dope to me. I like there's Narv is like what I would gravitate to because of the utility. If I had to like have one, if I could pick one and have it leveled to where I'm at now immediately, because Narv's like 26 also.
Thunder attacks, electric attacks are extremely strong in this game.
They almost always paralyze.
Yes, and Azana has that. Like she has a Rite of Lightning.
Rite of Lightning,
attack.
yep, and the Rite of Wind.
I would say that's really strong. Narv's electric attack does more damage. Hers, I think, has a
spark.
Yeah, I think hers probably has a slightly higher chance to paralyze.
Probably, but spark still paralyzes frequently.
I would say when I find myself wanting Azana is maps where I feel like, because her ultimate ability hits the entire map. It's called Rite of Thunderstorms, and it hits every opposing unit on the map.
Which I think I feel like I've seen that used, but haven't used it myself. No, I'm probably wrong about that. But that is incredible. How many does it hit for decent damage?
It hits for decent damage, but it doesn't necessarily hit accurately. I think if you create a rain or a windstorm or both first, you will get an accuracy boost. But it does, attack each opponent and have a chance to paralyze them on the field, which is really nice. So if there's 30 units, even though you're not hitting them all accurately, even if you paralyze 2 or 3 units at a time, that's busted, right? Like that's already insane.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
So that's when I find myself bringing in Azana, is I'm like, I need to hit every unit on the map as many times as possible.
I like how the formula never fails. The healers have got to go as far as priority. But on this game, that's what I was about to say. As far as this game goes, though, I think you were the one who even said it after I mentioned to you that the battle mages are fucking broken.
They will destroy you.
They will destroy you. You have got to get rid of them. They hit for way more than anything's physically hitting you.
Absolutely.
Like, they got to go. So in a lot of situations, man, I actually found success in prioritizing the battle mages getting out of there before the healers.
That's what I'm going to always do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to happen. But because the healers, for the most part, they don't heal for a lot. And also, you can kind of cheese healers by putting a unit right next to them, because then they'll do the shitty physical attack that does nothing and waste their turn healing.
What's even better is tempting an enemy healer and then they heal your units.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's top tier shit right there.
That's fun stuff.
But as far as base level cheesery, if you put a unit next to a healer, there's a very good chance that they're just going to strike. They might just move on the other side of you or something and just swing at you with their book and hit you for 1 damage.
Battle mages are priority 1 at all times.
They will step 2 squares away from you and strike the fuck out of you.
Absolutely. As long as they have the TP, they're going to mess you up.
Yeah. Then they're not going to resort to the book as often as the healers, I don't think. Like, I haven't seen the healers really step away a few squares and cast a heal quicker than they would like try to do an attack or something. So it's funny how you can get a lay of the land of how these units operate sometimes.
Absolutely.
And act accordingly,
It's interesting. I'm looking at my times deployed for all my units, and of course, the story characters are my top 7. Like,
what's your number 1, bro?
My number 1 is just Serenoa, because you have to deploy him so much.
How is my number 1? Well, I mean, is Serenoa not going to be on here because you have to deploy him?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, never mind. I see. Okay. So, Gila.
She's your next one?
Next one.
Nice. Mine is Eridor, then Benedict, then Gila.
No shit. Mine is Gila, then Frederica, and then Roland.
Roland is my only one of the top 8 of like the 8 main characters that got beat out by an unlockable character.
That's so funny because I'm looking at this and really all of my top are the main characters.
8. Well, that makes sense because those are the ones you've had the most. For me, I've had 3 playthroughs with most of these. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, you've put in much more time.
Yeah.
I've put in 70 plus. Like I'm at 70 and a half hours. You've put in
that's a
probably
lot,
200.
man. Yeah, I'm at about 185 on this save file. It's wild.
Yeah, I think I made sure to make a mental note when I saved last. It was like 70 hours and 34 minutes.
Yeah, but I have Archibald over Roland. He's my only unlockable character, beating any of my story characters.
Archibald is right there.
And then Jens is my next one.
As soon as I got Archibald, man, I wouldn't make a pick between them. I actually, a lot of times, opted to use Archibald and Hewitt.
There's going to be fights where you want as many archers as possible. There's going to be fights where if you have 4 archers, you're going to have all of them on your squad. Like
sometimes they have fights where there's a lot of archers on the other side, man, and that can be a problem.
Yeah, you need the archers to hit the other archers because they're strong against each other. But Archibald, Inescapable Arrow, that's another one that it's needed in some hard fights.
I love Inescapable Arrow, dude. So, I mean, sometimes, if you've got like an elite unit or like a boss that doesn't have a healer in range, you can just kind of like feed Archibald TP.
Absolutely.
And Inescapable Arrow, dude. And that is my shit right there.
Absolutely. Think about things like this and you'll start to understand, or when you start to enact Medina for those types of situations, being able to pump. Yeah, it's
that's
insane.
that's like the early stages of that type of strategy,
100%. Yeah. And you'll find situations where, like I mentioned, you have to feed Decimal. You'll find situations where I need to feed Archibald or Frederica. Luckily, Frederica sustains herself a little bit, but she's probably the strongest mage in the game just on base level.
I would say so. I mean, for the bulk of the game, for me, Blazing Chains was a main aggressor on my, as far as early abilities. It's a good one, man, especially when you unlock that optional upgrade.
Yeah, I still use Blazing Chains now. Like, there's not anything better to be doing with her. It's just
I didn't think so.
Yeah, it's just strong.
I put the one where you could pick Scorch or Blazing Chains.
I picked the right one.
I sure did, didn't I?
Because hitting one unit hard, like as hard as possible, is more important necessarily than an AoE attack in many cases.
Absolutely, I think so because it almost naturally always outdoes the healing, even if there's a healer.
And the times where you would use Scorch, which it does come up, but
it does.
The buff there is not going to make the difference. Whereas with Blazing Chains, the buff does make a difference, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And then with Corinton, I don't know if you did the same, but Frosty Feathers is just a really strong.
Yeah, same. They're basically mirror images of each other.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, that's
Corinton's ultimate is another one that is so strong that you will find yourself using it in hard fights. His attack, Glacial Moon, it hits a huge area.
I have that. Yep.
It hits a huge area, and he is absolutely like up there with Frederica in terms of
which
DPS.
Is like the equivalent of her Sunfall, correct?
Yes, but it hits right away.
Yeah. Oh, that. Yeah.
It doesn't take a turn off. Away. Yeah.
Yeah. The man, if you get the TP high enough, those Sunfall can be very OP, bro.
And Corentin has TP on ice, so you can always get yourself back up there a little bit.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that those, in your opinion, or factually, were the two main mages, because those are the two I just rolled clean through with, man. Because you unlock Corinton so early, I imagine most people are going to be using him immediately and then probably keep him around.
He does a lot. Wall of Ice can come up, a good bit where you've got archers and that are just mowing you down, but you can throw up a wall and slow that down a lot. Glacial Moon obviously is insane. I deployed Narv more than I did Corentin, just because I like Narv and I like the fact that he has a heal on his kit. Really comes in handy sometimes.
Oh, dude, definitely. That's what you want, man. I mean, that's like, that's just what you want. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You want to have an aggressive character that can do damage, but also have the utility of a heal.
And then Narv gets an accuracy increase at the end of his upgrades as well. Or not an increase, I'm sorry. He gets a range increase where his
Which is what
attacks
you
go
want.
+1. Yeah. And that makes +1 makes all the difference for the ranges of these characters.
Oh yeah.
Because most times you'll be, if you have a ranged unit and your enemy is a ranged unit, you'll have about the same range most of the time. But when you have +1 and you can constantly attack and just stay slightly out of range, it makes an insane difference.
Inescapable arrow type shit.
Yep, yep. I mean, but you can build your own with that, and that's what you want. I wish Narv had some way to power himself. That's the only thing he's missing. But that Frederica and Corentin have as a way to attack every turn. But you're going to be pairing him with either Medina or Julio. I mean if you're playing Narv, you need to run one of those two.
Yep. Definitely, dude. Julio is definitely good for that. But it's funny because I noticed as I leveled him up, he is also not out of the question for doing damage.
Not at all. He has some really strong attacks. His attack, Best Regards, it's a magic-based, it's like a magic-based attack. So it
ignores defense, right?
It just uses magic attack. It might ignore defense, but it does insane damage to these shield knights that you see at the end of the game. And when you get to these elite shield knights and you can hit them with Julio's Best Regards for 400 damage, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, because whenever you get those 600-700 HP shield knights, those are something you need to.
And regular physical attacks are not going to hit them very hard at all.
Exactly. That's where you want your distanced, your
magic-based attacks, your typeless attacks, that kind of stuff.
Definitely. Yeah. Going face to face, they're just going to keep trying to come around you and strike you and try to get the follow up. But
I agree. Julio does double duty. His normal base attack is stronger than you would expect.
And throwing it off to somebody real quick too. That's always handy. Yep. In a pinch, I mean, you can see this chaotic order of turns, at the bottom, but it's nice to be I would love to use this unit next. It's kind of like two-fold turn with Benedict. Mm-hmm. It's I would love to use this unit twice right now because, that would be very helpful to do X, Y, in a row.
And that's another thing that Medina does as well.
I need to get Medina leveled up and understand fully.
The thing about her is you want to save. She's expensive to use in terms of money.
So you want to be well along with.
I feel like she's bring her out when you need her, when it makes sense. She's not an every fight person because you'll go broke.
But you want to have her leveled up and ready to go though.
That is the push pull, but that problem kind of solves itself if you bring in a lower level character against enemies that are 10 levels higher. You can even just use items on yourself to get EXP. You don't actually have to really do anything.
Yeah. One of the things about this game, I think we might have even brought it up in the review when we first started playing it, is the fact that not doing nothing gets you experience. If you do something, you're going to get something.
And if you do nothing, you get a speed boost to your turn. I'm sure you've seen that pop up, that tip pop up. But that makes a real difference.
Yeah.
To the point where just moving 1 or 2 squares versus staying put has a real downside. And I like that a lot. Because you can save you can move your character up three or four turns sometimes by not doing anything.
Because you wouldn't want to have the game punish you for skipping because it's a strategy. A lot of situations it's optimal to just end your turn and pick a direction, move on.
When if you're doing that with a bunch of characters, it adds up to quite a bit where you're now suddenly getting 2 turns for every one that your opponent has, or 1.5 turns for every one your opponent has, which makes a huge difference.
Yeah, man, we've done some serious tech talk about the mechanics of the game.
That's what I wanted, man. That's really what I wanted out of this.
That's pretty cool. We kind of got down to the nitty gritty talking about combat a lot, and that's definitely what I wanted too out of it.
But we've gone way too long on this whole affair, I think, at this point. So probably just get some closing thoughts in here on Triangle Strategy, and then get a 3-shop going.
Yeah, man. I mean, final thoughts on it. This might be a serious thing here, but I would probably call this top 5 favorite games of all time.
It's crazy, right? It's crazy where
I'm serious.
You would never think that it would be like that, but I've certainly put more time into this game than any other game in recent memory. So I'm right there with you. I
mean, I'm at a point where it would be hard not to say that this is my favorite title on Switch.
I'm with you too, and that's saying a lot, man. Because we have a lot of time. But this is probably my second most time that I have in a Switch game at this point, after like Smash. Or it's definitely up there.
Yeah, I know there's not a lot of games that you put multi-hundreds into. And you're pushing 200 on this one. So, yeah, that's a big one, man. But, I mean, this game is... Every time I think about, praising it, the first thing I want to praise is the graphics of it. So just closing, the game is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Just the sway of the grass even. Just every little thing about it, bro. It's kind of like the full evolution of Octopath Traveler, like what they did with that.
The music stays in my head.
This is like a new age RE4 for us with the new game plus. I feel like it's just it's that formula. We kind of long for that, don't we? In the games that we like, there's something beautiful about playing back through a game.
I agree.
So this game provides that, and it's going to be available on Steam Deck on the 13th, right up on my birthday, man. So this is a perfect time for us to get a little post-game talk in. All the time we've put in, kind of just, we've shared what we've learned along the way, kind of some of the decisions we've made, maybe shared some combat tips with people that might have been very appreciative of us doing so. So
if you read online that a character is bad, I highly encourage you to use them yourself, because I've seen so many tier lists of this game's characters. People love making tier lists of this game's characters. It's one of the only forms of content that's out there. There's no challenge runs of this game or anything out there on YouTube that I can find. But when I look at these people's tier lists, I see people with Medina at the bottom, Benedict at the bottom, and it's like, all the characters are so unique and they all play such a unique, specific role that it's impossible. Like, everybody's individual tier list would be different from one another, because there's so many characters that you flavor to your play style. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, man, I've used Benedict maybe 2 less times than Sarah Noah, and I've won much more than I've lost. I mean,
no, Benedict is
Benedict is the man.
You can't make a tier list, in my opinion. Like, I would have a hard time doing that, but Benedict would be S or A for me. I mean, he's...
Yeah, what are you making a tier list based off a damage output?
No, yeah, I mean, it's not really about that. If we're just talking about character effectiveness, yeah.
You want to talk about utility. Yeah, you want overall utility as a character.
The only character I would have like bottom tier would probably be Giovanna. She's pretty bad.
Which I'm about to unlock, and I guess I will or won't understand, because I guess I shouldn't deploy her much. So.
Her attack, she's not useless, right? But all of her attacks except one are based on the terrain that she's standing on. So certain attacks only work in a grassy field. Certain attacks work if she's standing in water, that kind of thing. So it's very hard to use her in a way that is effective, because it's not as though the payoffs for these are that good. But I did join the Triangle Strategy Discord, and someone said, use her with ice, use her with Quarantine, and try her that way, because she has an ice attack. So if you can get Quarantine to get some ice down and then use Giovanna's ice attack, that it's actually good, which I have not tried. So I will not say for sure that that's not good.
Speaks to the strategy that goes into Triangle Strategy.
I've played through 3 full playthroughs, and I try to use as many characters as possible, and that still hasn't come up for me. So there's got to be a lot of combinations that I still haven't tried.
Yep. So we highly recommend this game on Steam Deck, on Switch. Free demo available. No reason not to get it.
Yeah, wherever you can get it.
just go ahead and get it. Trust us on it. If you haven't had a Switch, it's now on Steam.
Yep, no excuses. And you can play it on any. I mean, it's a HD 2D game. It's not. You can run it on a laptop easily, right? Like you're not going to have any trouble running this on a laptop or anything if you don't have a Steam Deck or a gaming computer.
Demanding. It shouldn't be too demanding.
Yeah.
But I think that about wraps it up for the Triangle Strategy post-game review, Tyler.
I'm so glad we did this, man.